Hello and welcome to this exclusive webinar on Equity Market Outlook and Performance of Kotak Flexi Fund with Mr. Harsha Upadhyay, Chief Investment Officer Equity and President Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company. Welcome, Mr. Upadhyay.
Thank you.
So let's start with the performance of Kotak Fund, Flexi Fund. It has done a very good as far as the returns are concerned, and especially the mid-cap fund. So what has really worked for the fund, and what are the major challenges that you faced to keep this fund really growing and creating wealth for the investors?
Across market phases, we have stuck to our investment philosophy and our focus on fundamentally researched companies for our portfolio investments. This has worked well across time periods. Despite volatility, we have stuck to this discipline, and definitely that has worked for us. If you look at the kind of companies that we buy into our portfolios, those are all the companies which have compounding characteristics, which have steady cash flow generation, which have managements working for the benefit of minority shareholders. And we also look at valuation as the final filter in all our assessments and look for companies which are available at reasonable valuations. And we generally do not take any event-based or tactical positions in our funds because these are difficult to predict and we have no expertise to do that. So we follow fundamental research-driven investment process. And over a period of time, our team has also stayed on, and there is a very good understanding between team members in terms of what are the kind of risks that one can take, how to manage that risk, and how to identify stocks from a medium to long term perspective. So all of these things have led to kind of consistent and superior performance across categories, and we hope to continue with that even going forward.
So markets are at all-time high. What's your view on the markets? Should one really be invested at these high levels, or is it time to really move out of the market and stay on the sidelines for some time till the markets stabilize and we are back into the trend uptrend?
We continue to remain constructive on equities. Yes, markets have hit all-time highs, but if you look at the valuations, they are not at all-time high levels. They are on the higher side. They are higher than fair value range. For example, over a period of last 15, 20 years, Indian markets have generally traded at around 18 to 18 and a half times 1 year forward multiples on a price to earnings basis. But today, when you look at forward multiples, it could be somewhere around 22 times 1 year forward. So to that extent, yes, these valuations are on the higher side, but there is also an expectation on economic recovery. And this economic recovery is bound to be quite strong once we contain COVID-related stress. Because for almost 18 months or so, we really have not seen any real demand kicking in from the economy. And for an emerging economy like India, at some point of time, this latent demand is going to really come forward. And that's what the companies are also focusing on. And those companies which can really capture this incremental growth going forward without really stressing their balance sheets will be the ones to really gain out of this. And overall, we believe that while the valuations are higher, one needs to be cautious at this point of time. But these are not the valuations to really exit equity as an asset class. So our view would be to remain invested in equity, but obviously one needs to be aware of the risks that are there in the market at this point.
Mr. Upadhyay, for last 1 or 2 years, we have seen that mid caps and small caps have been outperforming broader markets. So, do you expect this kind of a performance to continue? And which sectors in mid cap space do you like the most?
We continue to remain positive on the mid and small cap space as well. But the caveat here is, as you rightly mentioned, they have really done well from the lows of the COVID first wave. In the middle of calendar year 2020, the valuations were really attractive for mid and small cap because the preceding 3 to 4 years were not great for the mid and small cap, and the valuations were really attractive. But since then, we have seen valuations inching up even in that space. Now the valuations kind of discount some of the positives that could be there as we go ahead. So to that extent, there could be volatility in mid and small cap, especially if any of the earnings season disappoints in terms of the expectations. For example, April to June quarter is going to be softer than what everyone anticipated at the beginning of the quarter, while it will be much better than last year's April to June quarter. But compared to where expectations were at the beginning of the quarter, it could be little soft. So at these valuations, yes, there could be volatility that will come into some of these segments if there is a disappointment on the earnings trajectory. But from a medium to long term perspective, clearly there is opportunity in mid and small caps, and one should remain invested.
How do you expect the earnings to pan out for the companies? Because as you said, that first quarter of FY22, we have seen the second wave of COVID hitting companies hard. So first, leaving the first quarter aside, where we expect a dent on the earnings of most of the companies, how do you expect the other 3 quarters to be if economic recovery is smooth?
We just step back and see where we are today, because today we are still in the middle of the earnings season for Jan to March quarter. Almost 95% of the companies have already announced results. And if you look at that earnings season, it is much better than what the anticipated results were. For example, Nifty was expected to grow at around 75% plus on a year-on-year basis, because Jan to March quarter of the 2020 calendar year was impacted because of the lockdowns, which were pan-India lockdowns. So to that extent, if you look at the current set of numbers which have come out, it's almost 11 to 12% higher than what the expectations were. So we are at about almost 87, 88% higher on a year-on-year basis. Very few companies are left to announce the results, but our guess is this trend will continue for the Jan to March quarter. So to that extent, it has been a continuation of what we saw during September, December, and that has continued into March quarter. Now, going ahead, as I mentioned, June quarter is likely to be soft, but the analysts have not really changed their estimates at this point of time, given that one, it was difficult to predict at the beginning of the quarter, and secondly, now there seems to be a containment and things are starting to normalize. Based on this, the overall numbers for financial year 22 are at around 30% increase on a year-on-year basis, roughly at around 700 rupees of earnings for Nifty basket, based on which we are at about 22 times on a 1 year forward basis. Any change to this number, in our opinion, would happen only in the July to August period when the first quarter results will be out, and depending on the trajectory of the actual numbers that come out for the first quarter, we could see some changes in the full year estimates. But until then, we would continue to go with this number of roughly about 700 rupees of EPS per Nifty in this financial.
Mr. Upadhyay, what is your view on the banking and financial services space? I mean, if we look at the performance of the banks, PSU sector banks have outperformed the private sector banks in this last 6 months, and NBFCs have also been doing better. So, what is your overall view on this sector?
Banking and financial services sector is one which is closely linked to the economy. And as the economy opens up, as economic activities pick up, there is definitely going to be much higher growth for this segment. A couple of issues which have been bothering investors when they look at this sector have been one is on the asset quality trends. There was a previous cycle which was hurting some of the banks and financial services companies as we entered COVID. And also during the COVID first phase, there were concerns about this asset quality worsening further. But I think as we look back, that has been more or less stable, and the provisioning levels have been quite fine. And the second COVID wave has not really impacted so much, because this time around it was not a national lockdown. It was regional and specific to a certain time, etc. So overall activity was not completely stopped. Yes, it was lower than what the expectations were. But we believe that the collection efficiency, which has gone down during this second wave in the first few weeks of this quarter, have already started to move back to normal. So to that extent, asset quality issues are unlikely to be really worrying at this point of time. The second issue that was concerning most investors was on the growth. But Union Budget of 2021 has really focused on growth, and there has been a lot of impetus on infrastructure activities in the country. And we also believe that as demand comes up, there will be need for corporates to really look for higher borrowing as they need to produce more, they need to operate their factories at a higher level, etc. So working capital needs and also a little bit of green shoots in terms of private capex should help credit growth coming back into the system in the second half of this year and beyond. So overall, at this point of time, banking and financial sector is poised for a better growth as well as a stable asset quality trend, I would say. And given this, and also the fact that it is closely linked to the economy, and as you see recovery in the economy, to build more growth for this particular space, we continue to remain positive, and we have positions across private and public sector banks.
So sectors you are overweight and underweight on?
Currently, we are looking incrementally little more towards the cyclical baskets. We believe that as economy recovers, this is the basket which is comprising of banks, automobiles, cement, metals, industrials, chemicals. All of these sectors can actually see higher demand, and that should lead to a better performance from most of the companies in these sectors. So there is an earnings surprise that can come from any of these sectors as we go ahead, and that could lead to valuation re-rating as well, because many of these segments are not at very high valuations. Whereas if you look at some of the defensive segments such as IT and FMCG, the valuations seem to be on the higher side as compared to history as compared to the market. These segments have done well during the COVID crisis as people were nervous in terms of taking bets on the cyclical basket. But there, the earnings are going to be more steady and doesn't leave much room for positive surprises there, which means valuations which are currently at higher levels cannot further re-rate in our opinion. So to that extent, our focus incrementally will be towards the cyclical basket, believing that economic recovery will continue to happen going ahead.
As far as the investment strategy is concerned, Mr. Upadhyay, what should one's strategy be? In if he or she wants to invest, it should be a lump sum investment, or one should go for staggered investment in forms of SIPs.
Timing the markets is always difficult. If at all there is a lesson from 2020 market movements, it's about not trying to time the markets. We did see a huge fall in the initial period and then even sharper recovery after that. So we always advise investors not to really time the markets, but to remain invested if the valuations are reasonable, and also keep staggered investments going. So that would be the approach which will take care of intermittent volatility that anyways will always be there in equities as an asset class. So disciplined staggered investments is something that
Which themes are going to play out over a long period of time? If somebody wants to invest for say next 5 to 10 years, so which are the themes that you're looking forward to?
Across our portfolios, we have been focusing on few themes from a medium to long-term perspective. One has been the shift that is taking place in the global trade and commerce away from China, which we call as China plus one strategy for many of the global majors to really diversify their needs from other sources, other regions other than China. This is where I think some of the sectors in India can definitely come up to speed and compete very well internationally in terms of supply, logistics, etc. And that's where we believe there is a big opportunity from a medium-term perspective. We are already seeing glimpses of this in the chemical sector, and there are many more other Indian sectors which can also participate as we go ahead in our opinion. The second is something which has been continuing for last 4 to 5 years, which is a kind of a shift that is gradually taking place away from unorganized companies to organized companies or established and branded players. I think this started sometime after demonetization. The GST implementation also accelerated this process, and finally the COVID crisis has led to some of the larger established companies really gaining market share across various categories, and that is likely to continue even going forward. So this is something that we are focusing. There are many sectors where unorganized pools of business would be very large pools, and that is available for incremental market share gains by established players in our opinion. Another thing is something which is pervasive everywhere, which is about digitization of businesses. A lot of businesses are trying to go to the customer in a much more seamless fashion, cutting intermediaries, cutting costs, bringing in efficiencies, and using digital platforms to really transform their businesses. So there are some incumbents which are really using this digital technology to really gain on the customer experience, customer service, etc. And also there are newer ones which are disrupting the existing businesses. So both are opportunities for us. So we look at some of these opportunities as we go. So broadly, these are the a few themes that we are focusing at this point.
One of the big risks for emerging markets, sir, would be tapering by U.S. Federal Reserve. Do you think, and do you see, and do you expect this happening anytime soon? And if so happens, so what is the kind of impact that you see on Indian equity markets?
Yes, U.S. Treasury yields have moved up from the lowest levels that we have seen in the recent past to current levels of about 1.6%. The inflation has also inched up, so that's where some noise is coming in terms of what effect it will have on the interest rates and what policy changes we could see from the central banks, etc. But as far as we are concerned, we believe that this is more of a normalization of interest rate yields. Because if you step back and see a couple of years earlier, the interest rate yields or the interest rates were higher than where we are today. There was a massive change in the fixed income market in terms of yields, and the yields collapsed completely across the board the year 18 and 19. There has been some normalization now given that the activity levels are picking up, inflation is picking up a little bit. But most of the central banks have also publicly made statements that we are in a situation where we would see lower rates for a longer time period. Nobody is looking to really change the interest rate trajectory at this point of time. While this will remain a medium-term risk for equities, but I do not think that in the next 6 months we will have issues coming from inflation or interest rate movements on.
Many of the emerging markets bulls have been saying that we are in a commodity super cycle. Do you believe the same? And if yes, what is the kind of view that you are looking for, metal space and non-ferrous metal space in India?
I do not know whether you can call it a super cycle or not, but definitely we are in a very, very strong commodity cycle. The commodities have not done well for almost a decade or so. Post global financial crisis, we really have not seen commodities doing well on a sustainable basis. But this time around, as economic activities are picking up, there is a hope that the rebuilding of economies will need a lot of commodity inputs to go into the economy. So to that extent, and also the fact that there has been some sort of a disruption from China, which is the largest producer and largest exporter of many of the metals, as they are focusing more on their environment and cutting down on some of the polluting metal companies. So curtailment of production from there, as well as the hope that the economy will revive at some point of time on a global scale, and that will lead to further increase in demand, is what is really leading to this sort of a pricing scenario in the global commodities side. Yes, this is something which will remain volatile. This is more volatile than your equity markets when you look at the prices of metals or commodities. But on a medium-term basis, we also concur that we may be starting on a new cycle where the rebuilding of economies will lead to higher demand for metals, both ferrous as well as non-ferrous, and that should lead to a fairly strong metal cycle over the next few years.
Mr. Upadhyay, one last question. Your advice for the new investors who are entering into the market directly and then through mutual funds. So what would your advice be to them?
I think three important tenets of investments would be: one, long-term focus, regular investments, and also prudent asset allocation. If one follows all three important basic tenets of investing, I think one will come out successful. So that's what I would advise new investors as well.
Thank you, Mr. Upadhyay, for being with us. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.